And yes, here we are once again, everyone. Thank you for coming to the spoiler room. We are live, and it is another, our last, actually, Through the Door episode. I know it's been an interesting journey. It's been an interesting journey, and I figured we'd end this interesting journey with a very interesting film. Written by two folks who you would have never thought would have collaborated on a film. But yes, we are talking about 1999's Being John Malkovich. So welcome, one and all. Thank you for venturing down the stairs, pulling up a chair and popping your favorite drink, or pouring your favorite drink in this case, as we talk movie spoilers. And yes, 1999, Being John Malkovich. And I have a wonderful crew with me to discuss the ins and outs and sideways of this quirky film. And first off, he is back with us, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Mr. Joe Randazzo is here. Hello, Joe.
Hey, everyone.
Glad to have you. And also, once again, we are honored to have Michael Vyers back with us, shameless picture show filmmaker extraordinaire himself. Yeah, I mean, like 50% of this spoiler room tonight have made films. So, how you doing, Mike?
Hey. 75%. I made one movie back in high school.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, and I guess I did make
someday. Will escape. Sorry,
I did make a short. You made a film in high school.
Yeah.
So 100% of us have made films.
Then 100% of us.
Yeah. Geez, Mark, come on.
Get your information together. You call yourself a journalist.
We were.
I'm no journalist. No, I don't call myself a journalist. Ian can attest to that.
I met Michael and I met Mark both at the Twisted Dreams Film Festival, and there was one year that we were going to I was going to host one of the panels, and that year we ended up having to go remote because of COVID. But I remember working into my my opening that I was going to read out. If you're here because you made a short film, a feature film, wrote a screenplay, whatever, congratulations, you did something. You actually did something. Everybody talks about wanting to make movies. Not everybody is able to make a movie or write a screenplay or whatever. So if you've done it, you're a filmmaker. If you've written a screenplay, even if it hasn't gone anywhere, it hasn't gotten made, you're a filmmaker.
Awesome.
100% of us have made films.
So I guess 100% of us are filmmakers. And my right-hand man, who I've just discovered something new about him. He is someone who made a film in high school. He's my right-hand man. He keeps coming back for more. Always a pleasure to have Mr. Ian Simmons here with us. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And Mike, I'm sorry to say that the streak continues.
Of what? If you're not liking movies that I'm involved like in the episode for?
Yeah, one of these days.
We had one.
Which one was it?
It was Nicholas Winding Refn's Fall Up to Drive. Why can't I think of what it was called?
Demon?
Only God Forgives.
Only God Forgives.
God
That's
Forgives.
right. Yeah,
That's right. You both liked that one. Yes.
Yeah. So there was one. There was one.
Yeah. So yes, we are talking Being John Malkovich, 1999, directed by Spike Jonze and written by Charlie Kaufman. So, Mike, it's been a little while. Give the synopsis of Being John Malkovich.
All right. Let's see if I can do this. Being John Malkovich is about a puppeteer by the name of Craig who does really creepy marionette puppet shows, but really artful puppet shows that, he's trying to tell complex stories with complex themes and ideas. And like you'd expect from a puppet show person, he's not making any money. Ends up taking a job at this really strange building on the 7.5 floor. Yes, the 7.5 floor. And he's there as a filing clerk because he's just an insanely fast filer. While there, he meets this mysterious woman that he can't seem to get out of his mind, and also finds a little door. And once you crawl through said little door, you find out that you can then spend 15 minutes in the mind looking through the eyes of actor John Malkovich before you are abruptly thrown into the New Jersey Turnpike.
By Elizabeth, New Jersey, which I used to live in New York, and whenever we drive into New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey is where like all the power plants and everything are, and it stinks. That area smells awful. So yeah, if you're a New Yorker and you know, or you've driven through New Jersey, then you get that little extra. Oh, that's where they dump them. Oh,
And I do gotta say, that first time that John Cusack's character falls out the sky is really fucking funny.
It is. That looks like it actually hurt.
Yeah.
Whoever it was they had fall out of the sky there, that looked like it hurt.
a lot. My knee, yeah, man, my 44-year-old knees are looking at all those drops like, oh man.
I'm just looking at having to shoot on that set and just think how bad my back would hurt. But anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So
That could not have been pleasant
John
either.
Malkovich.
That is not a pleasant area to film.
Oh, really?
It's not a pleasant area to drive through. It just smells like the entire area just stinks.
Yeah.
I mean, you can Google it. Google Elizabeth, New Jersey, and smell, and you'll find out. There's a lot of waste management places in that area. A lot power plants. So there's a lot going on. That like when you're driving through from to or from the city, you roll up your windows when you get there.
All right, can I just point something?
Yeah,
out?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I did Google it, and the very first thing after the AI overview is a from the New Jersey Reddit, and it says it's not fair we all get judged because of Elizabeth.
Oh,
And then it says shit. The smell is mostly coming from Linden. Just leave Elizabeth out of this.
I do love the rivalries there, but yes, it is in New York City. Somebody get a rope. And sorry, yeah. So we'll start off here, just high level thoughts, real quick. I think he had already teased his, but we'll come back to him.
He didn't tease it at all. He straight out said him.
He just came right on set. I know, but Joe, you remember when you first saw this?
It was actually only a couple of years ago. I had sat on this one for a while, and then the Criterion edition came out, and I was like, you know what? Let me check it out. And I really enjoyed it then, and I really enjoyed my my rewatch last night. I mean, ultimately, what it's about is Craig really wanting to, from the very beginning, from the very moment we meet him, he's jealous of another puppeteer. He's constantly talking about how he basically wants to be someone else. It's basically Craig's wish fulfillment and wanting to be a success in any means. I really, really liked it. I love the bit with the puppet show at the beginning and the New York dad turning around and seeing the puppet show. Yeah, you son of a bitch, and just punching him in the face. Everything
After having been to New York City, that feels very true to the city.
I mean, I grew up in a blue collar New York neighborhood, so there was a lot of all these artists are all poivots. You know, there's a lot of that as like the everybody artistic is perverted in some way. So that fits what the blue collar New Yorker thinks of anybody who's doing a puppet show or a stage show or anything like that.
And Mike, what about you? And you first saw Being John?
Well, I first saw this movie yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, it was the first time watch for me. I got the Criterion DVD from the library. I had been putting off Spike Jonze only made 4 movies, and I only saw half of them like within the last year. And despite the fact that I've seen a lot of his music videos and such, yeah, I liked it quite a bit. It was not the movie that I was expecting it to be. Honestly, the reason I put both this and Adaptation off when I first saw trailers for them is I thought they were going to be a lot more dry and uninteresting than they actually were. Like, I was not expecting absurdist, surrealist humor in either one of those films.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just kind of goes to show you that sometimes your expectations aren't at all what they are. It's like when I saw Sex, Lies, and Videotapes. Like that is not the movie that I was expecting. It was the movie that I got.
Well, to be fair with Sex, Lies, and Videotape, the media really hyped that up to be some kind of really subversive and oh my God type of movie. And then I finally got around to watching it one day and I'm like, this is what that is.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a movie that I also put off because like I didn't know, like I saw the trailers for it, but sometimes trailers are difficult because you can't always get the tone. You remember, I saw the office building. I saw that they went through the little door and they're in the mind of John Malkovich, but it just this would have been a really hard movie to cut a convincing trailer for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all I remember was the word of mouth, 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago when this came out. I just heard it. Oh my God, you have to see it. You have to see it. I don't oh, God, excuse me. I don't remember if I ever even saw a trailer. I'm going to have to mute here for a second. Go ahead.
Well,
continue.
Plus, I had a definitely when I started, like because I probably first heard about this movie in middle school, maybe going into high school.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch a lot of the IFC and the Sundance Channel back when they were actually interesting. And all IFC shows now, if they're still around, is they just show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia all fucking day long. But then, like, my first thought was, who the fuck is John Malkovich? Because when I was younger, I didn't know who he was. And this movie kind of plays with that, too, that he's got one of those faces and one of those, like, but people don't truly know who he is. We can get to it later on, but just so I don't forget, I absolutely love the running joke of you played that jewel thief.
I've never played a jewel thief. Oh, you were great in that movie as a jewel thief. I love that he's able to take the piss out of himself through this whole movie.
Yeah.
I absolutely adored that. He was fantastic. In doing that.
I listened to an interview with him, and he was a little worried about it because when he first read it, it wasn't necessarily offered to him. He just said that anytime his name is mentioned in something, that has to get sent to him for his approval. And he started reading the script, and he thought John Malkovich, they were going to use him as an example, but not necessarily that he was going to be a character. And he said he got through the first 30 pages, and he was really enjoying the script. And his manager's like, "Yeah, you got to keep reading." And then he got to his involvement in it, and apparently Charlie Kaufman said that if it couldn't be John Malkovich, he wasn't going to sell the script.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
So
that
very
was
adamant. About it.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it was a surprise that they got Malkovich to actually be in being John Malkovich, considering the story in that. So and it's very interesting that they got him for sure.
He even said, like, when he finally met with Charlie Kaufman, he read a revised version of the script because he wanted to remind himself about everything, and he realized the revised version of the script was missing things. And when he met with Charlie Kaufman, he, first Charlie is like, "Well, I'm a real big fan," and he goes, "You don't have to do that. I read your film. I know kind of how you feel about me." But then he said, "But I noticed you took some of the most hurtful jokes out of the film, and if I'm going to do this, you need to put those back in."
Yeah, that sounds like Malkovich. That sounds like Malkovich.
Yeah,
I mean that's how you got to approach these things. I did something like this with Joe Estevez, where he was playing himself. He's selling his blood in the first scene so that he can buy food, and he goes on a political rant that goes viral, and then he ends up running for president and all this stuff. And a lot of it was Joe going, no, I want you to put in all the worst things you could possibly say about me because it makes it more fun that I'm right here. I'm like, I love that he enjoyed that, and I think the great ones do, and I love it's what I liked about a lot of the Ricky Gervais series on HBO is when you get that cameo, like you get Liam Neeson coming in because I want to do improvisational comedy, and then what's funny about it is how he has absolutely no self-awareness whatsoever. And I was this the origin of it? Was being John Malkovich the origin of that style of comedy?
It'd been around. I think it brought it kind of to the forefront a little.
Well,
bit,
yeah.
But
I mean, it goes back to the old comedy roasts. Even he's in a feature movie roasting himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ian, I know you showed your hand already, but you disliked this film or hated this film. So, but please.
It's in a very special category that I keep revisiting with you, Mark. Movies that I watched once and vowed never to watch again, but I did it for you.
Oh, well, thank you. I do
I
appreciate
despise
you.
this movie. I find it to be artistically and morally bankrupt. And good night.
Wow. Artistically and morally bankrupt.
You don't normally get both.
Yeah, no,
You get one or the other.
You gotta know where to look. Emerald Fennell's body of work, for example. Sorry.
I mean, I figured the moral part was going to stick with you, but the artistic part too. I'm impressed. They hit both.
I mean, the sum and substance of this film's artistry is in the trailer. There's a portal into John Malkovich's head. People go into it for 15 minutes. And what do I do with it? They waste it on a cast that I don't usually get to say this about movies often, but there is no one of any redeeming character in this film. They're all scumbags.
Yeah.
And they're revealed to be like darker and darker and darker all the way through the end. So at the end of it, I'm wondering, why did I watch this? Because I don't mind movies with dark characters, but they at least need to say something or do something or give me something to show that they've been through some kind of a journey or an arc, or maybe they've learned something, maybe not. But this is it's just sick for sickness' sake. And I revisited it. I watched half yesterday morning and the other half this morning. I'm like, yeah, this isn't one of those things where I watched it 27 years ago. Maybe I've softened. No, it's only gotten lower in my estimation. And I like Spike Jonze. I loved his Where the Wild Things Are. I like the stuff he's done with Jackass. Charlie Kaufman, they worked together a few years later on Adaptation, which I think is a fantastic movie. But even that film knew that you have to have someone this movie was made for people who hate people. And I think you need to be able to have someone in the film that can relate to the person who walks in off the street and just thinks they're going to an actual regular movie. Yeah.
No, and I get that. I mean, I rewatching it again, and I hadn't watching it for years. Rewatching it again, I knew because Ian, you and I have been doing almost every week for like 6 years now. 6 years. I kind of picked up. I'm watching this going, oh, I'm sorry, Ian, because I'm just watching it going, I know Ian's not going to care for this, and I'm not saying that I can always guess, but I just knew at least surface level why you were probably going to not enjoy it. And for me, I enjoy a lot of aspects of it. I do agree that I thought the first time I watched this, or couple times I watched this, there was a character that was a little more redeemable, but then watching it again this time, I'm like, oh yeah, no, all of these people these are all just horror. I mean, the only person you feel the most for is John Malkovich at most, because he's the tool being used by everybody here.
Well,
go ahead.
Back to something that we were talking about a minute ago with Mike, where you're talking about the stuff that Kaufman had taken out of the script that Malkovich had insisted be put back in. But what I immediately jumped to was the Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare montage at the end, where they're going through his consciousness. And, the stuff about his childhood, like, him wetting his pants on the school bus or whatever, that's one thing. But Catherine Keener passes him in what looks to be a stairwell or a vent where he's very clearly sniffing someone's panties. There's another bit where he's on a couch in his kind of younger actorly days, like stroking a woman's hair, and she says, "You're a creep." I'm like, I don't. This is if they had left that part out, I might have thought, maybe there's something here. But even Malkovich can't be helped but being dragged into the muck of this miserable screenplay. And I don't mean it's a it is a miserable screenplay, because there's holes and problems with it that I think Jones and Kaufman got so wrapped up in their gimmick, they forgot that they have to make things tight and make things work. The thing that I go back to that drove me absolutely crazy, and I had to rewind and watch it, was the scene in Elizabeth. I guess we now know it to be Elizabeth, New Jersey. I think it's one of the last scenes where there's a guy there's two people trapped in the Malkovich portal, and they both fall out. And then there's a fight on the side of the road, and Malkovich is involved in it. I think that's where he went inside of his own head.
Yeah, he went inside his own head, and there was someone else already in there. Yeah,
right. As he's walking away, because he's yelling at John Cusack's character, saying like, "I'm going to sue you" and all this other stuff, a car drives by and chucks a can at Malkovich's head and says, "You suck, Malkovich," or something like that. At first, I thought, that the other guy who was in the portal? No, that wouldn't have been him, because Cusack drives all of these people, or he goes out to meet them. They don't know where they're going to land. And so that moment doesn't make sense, except for a trailer gag, because it's in the middle of the night. It's pitch dark out there, and Malkovich has his back to the road. So the person coming up on him would have no idea that that's John Malkovich.
Yeah.
It's a stupid trailer gag. And I'm like, this movie was an art house darling, ostensibly for the elite, like smart set to go and like gloomy art involving a B-list celebrity. But there's a better version of this movie in here. I think my biggest disappointment was they had a gift of what if you could get inside Malkovich's head, and it kind of became a ride, and this is what they did with it. It's kind of like going back to our pre-show talk about Transformers, and Michael Bay spent 7 movies doing what another director accomplished brilliantly in 8 minutes in Bumblebee.
Yeah. No, I mean, and you're correct. I mean, this is definitely, and it's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it is because it's one of those films that's divisive. I've seen people be critical for both sides. For a lot of the points you mentioned, Ian, I know some people really appreciate it for the originality. I'll say this film maybe walked and presented some ideas that were done a lot better in years later, because the energy and the spirit of this film, you could say, is in Everything Everywhere All at Once, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is far better film by any means. I will fully admit that.
I'll disagree with you there too, Mark.
Yeah, I know you didn't care for that one either. I know you did care for that one.
That is in the special Malkovich category, except I will never watch that movie again. I don't care if you put that on the show that you have Jamie Lee Curtis as a guest star. I will be out sick that week thinking about that movie.
If you get Jamie Lee Curtis, I'll come on. I will sacrifice myself for you.
But I met Jamie Lee Curtis once, so the thrill is gone.
But see, I love bizarre movies, so that's part of the reason why I do enjoy this movie. Not so much for maybe the movie elements itself, for it the fact of the craft of film, the storytelling, the narratives, especially. I mean, all the criticisms you have, Ian, I would say, they are not over exaggerated. They are justified in many ways. For me, this is definitely a niche film. This is a quirk film. This is they do ride their gimmick hard, a little too hard on it, in that they hint at some of the supposed existential or metaphysical type of questions, and immediately gets thrashed to capitalism because they start selling tickets for $200 to be Malkovich for 15 minutes, which I mean, that on one hand I get the statement they're saying, but on the other hand there are some things that they could explore, and they do explore some interesting topics in here as well, but they don't necessarily maybe go as deep as you would like them to. They present the idea like so we have Craig, who is a despicable person, played by John Cusack. There's really not a huge redeeming quality about this guy whatsoever. I mean,
not from the very beginning, even.
No,
refusing to get a job, because if I'm not going to make money as a puppeteer, then I'm not going to make money doing anything.
Yeah, and
That's actually sorry. That's the one thing that I kind of understood on, because that was the one thing that I loved about this movie was the puppeteering.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it's quite unbelievable that it wasn't all accomplished like through CGI or something, because there are times when those puppets are moving around doing just like the subtlest gestures that I'm like, that how is that even possible? It feels
Yeah.
like there should be 500 strings attached to this thing instead of 20. Sorry, I cut you off.
I do have to say, too, the puppeteering also led to my favorite just throwaway joke in the movie, where when he goes to see Lottie at her job, and she goes, "Oh, it happened again."
Yes. I remember that. Yeah, that joke dropped up because he came in and he's hit, and she stares at him. And she goes, "Is this a joke? Is this where a joke goes? What happened again?" And then she drops that line like, "Oh yeah, there it is," and that that hits. So yeah, and again, they do talk about the meaning of it, going in there and what is self and that, but then it totally gets buried under both Lot Schwartz and Craig Schwartz lusting after Maxine, who Maxine is Craig's co-worker.
Yeah.
Maxine played by Catherine Kinnear, and it's an interesting dynamic that they have there. And they go an interesting way with the relationship with them. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely some interesting things to explore as far as the topics, especially when Lot goes into Malkovich and Malkovich has sex with Maxine. And so Lot is experiencing sex with a woman through a man with Maxine, and she has a connection with her. And it's just interesting what they explore, but then it gets buried under the jokes and the gimmick. It's like they almost were like, oh, we got to get back to the Malkovich part.
Well, I almost wonder, and maybe this is me giving those involved too much credit, but I also wonder if maybe that is part of it, because like intentionality, like maybe that was an intentional thought, because these are all selfish, terrible people who, once they can find something magical to exploit for their own edification, they will. They don't care why this door exists. They don't care. They don't want to look into it, because they start realizing what they can get out of it. So then the movie starts to essentially shifts its focus, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass right now, but I kind of just felt that like we're seeing the movie mostly from their perspective, and they don't seem to give a shit.
Well, I think that's you're kind of hitting on something that I think is a fundamental problem with these characters is they don't give a shit. It's very hard for an audience to care about characters who don't give a shit collectively, especially for 90 minutes when they essentially don't change. They just get worse and worse and more self-obsessed. My biggest problem with Lottie and Craig is I don't believe that they ever got together. There's nothing in their marriage or their personalities that suggests, like, was Craig different? Was he ever successful as a puppeteer and then he lost his job, or he can't, what is it about him as an artist that allows her to be okay with herself just supporting him? And he's kind of a layabout and a dreamer, but he's also really nasty to her. And he's this snob who doesn't have any reason to be snobbish about anything. So when they have this shaky foundation for their marriage, and then all of a sudden she starts developing feelings for Catherine Keener because she went into Malkovich, it almost feels like this misogynistic kind of idea of like, well, all women are secretly, they kind of want to get on with each other. That would never be the case with, can you imagine Craig being turned on by being inside John Malkovich and wanting to be with, I don't know, the old guy who ran the company that they were working for? It's all like this regressive, unsexy, unsmart nonsense that with this pedigree, I'm surprised that this is where Charlie Kaufman of all people would go. It almost seems like he's making fun of the kind of people who would make this movie if it wasn't him.
That's
I mean,
that's a good
possible.
point.
Yeah,
That's possible. They've laughed all the way to the bank on it. But also you hit on something like, yeah, this loser pulled. I mean, if we're gonna look at it, this loser pulled Cameron Diaz.
Which the makeup department did their best to try to make her.
I didn't even realize it was her at first.
Yeah,
I didn't pay attention to the credits, so I was maybe 40 minutes in, and they did a close up of her. It's like, holy shit, that's Cameron Diaz.
but also imagine you have Cameron Diaz at home. And nothing against Catherine Keener, but you're like, tired of that. I'm going to go get Catherine Keener instead. Nothing against Catherine Keener. But, at this point, a 27-year-old, 28-year-old Cameron Diaz is your girlfriend?
Yeah.
What's that?
Wife, yeah.
And,
wife. But that's the thing is, like, it was all in the hair because she wasn't, like, greasy or have, like, mouth sores or anything like that. She just had this crazy hair that was half in her face and then half sticking out like a crazy crow's nest or something.
Yeah, they dirtbagged her out. Like she's living with loud, obnoxious animals. Like so she probably doesn't smell the best either because she's got a chimp and like all these other animals constantly roaming around the house. That's probably part of it too.
Yeah, and they also do that. Again, I'm sorry, but they do the bit where Lottie's locked in a cage in her apartment. She's being held prisoner there. So, I mean, at a certain point, and it's when Craig goes berserk and pulls the gun on his wife and locks her in the cage, that this movie ceases all pretense of being able to be a comedy. Because this isn't played for laughs. It's being played as something else. But they do try and have their humorous moments in there, like when we see the chimpanzee randomly having a flashback to its parents being captive and it failing to save it. And the parents call it Elijah.
I know. I caught that this time. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, I missed that.
It's that LOL so random it doesn't have to make sense humor that, it's the last resort of people who have run out of ideas for funny things to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get that, and it's funny with the Craig character because this guy at first you're like, oh, artist, puppet, tortured artist, or whatever, and then you pay attention for a few minutes of how he is, and he literally meets Maxine, and the guy, if put it this way, if you saw The Mask and you had Jim Carrey as the Mask, and he's in the nightclub, and he sees Cameron Diaz on the stage for the first time, and his mouth really drops open and the tongue just like, that's what Craig does the second he sees Maxine, like the second. Now, again, I'm not necessarily saying, but he's the married guy and he like completely just forgets he's married. And I am with you on that, Ian, and that I was trying to figure out how Lot and Craig ever really got married and together, because he doesn't want kids, she wants kids. He doesn't really like the animals, but they've got all the animals there. It's like boyfriend, girlfriend, or even fiance, maybe, but having them married is that extra step where you're just like,
I got
really?
I kind of always got. I say always as if I didn't just watch it yesterday. I kind of got the feeling that they probably got married really young, probably right out of high school, and neither of them really have spent any time without each other. So have never really put together. They don't like each other very much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he definitely doesn't like her.
Well, obviously,
yeah. every moment, he doesn't want to. She wakes him up sweetly in the morning. He wants nothing to do with it. Oh, I got to take care of your stupid animals, dude. You don't have a job. You don't do anything. The least you can do is take care of the house.
Or like when when Lottie asks him to feed Elijah, and which one's Elijah again? The monkey. I don't know. If I had a monkey living with me, I'm pretty confident I'd know that fucking thing's name.
Yeah.
Now it'd be one thing if you had like 5 dogs or something. Like, oh, which one of the dogs is Elijah? But a monkey? I'm never gonna forget a monkey's name.
Right. I mean, that's a great point though. Like if there are 5 monkeys or 5 dogs, you say which one is Elijah, because you gotta take one to the vet or something like that. Like it's
If you got
Yeah.
one monkey, you should know that thing's name.
Let's so I mean his character, it's hard, you can't latch on, and then you do, so you get the feeling that filmmakers want you kind of to latch on to Lottie, especially after Craig's reaction to Maxine, and he's pretty much licking her heels the first day he's met her. And you're like, okay, but as you go along, all of a sudden Lottie makes this change too, to where you're like, I'm not sort of liking her either, because suddenly she becomes obsessed and she starts using Malkovich, for other reasons. Maxine is just someone who's exploiting everybody.
Yeah.
So she's not someone who's even like the innocent caught in the middle. she's like exploiting everyone. And then you get the old guy in here who runs the Lexicorp.
Great Orson Bean.
Yeah.
Who's got a speech impediment.
I do love that gimmick. I loved the speech impediment gimmick just because they committed to it. And Flores, who's played by Mary Kay Place, sells it so well and so naturally that it's just like, after a while, you just roll with her.
Although she does kind of, and I don't know if this is intended to be her revealing that it's just her fucking with people, but the scene where she's coming on really hard to Craig.
Oh yeah,
and he kind of lets her down. Oh, yeah, I'm in love with someone else. So, I don't understand a word you're saying. And then she turns to him, you bastard. So she does. She does actually understand.
Yeah, I mean, so it doesn't get the impression a bit she could be just fucking with people, but I like the gimmick and the fact how she convinced Dr. Lester he had a speech impediment because he's worked with her.
You're speaking character in the movie.
Yeah.
But him, you're like, oh, kind of nice guy, until you find out, oh no, he's actually this old captain that's been hopping through people forever since he found.
I swear, I don't think there's a world in which the creators of the television show Severance hadn't watched this movie.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
I've not seen Severance yet, but I hear it's great. I gotta catch up on it.
I can't honestly say if you're gonna like it or not, Ian, because the one time where
I like Adam Scott.
The one time I thought you were gonna absolutely hate something was that Refn film, and you ended up liking it. So I can't predict you. That's why I like podcasting with you.
I'm a maverick. No,
yeah,
he's a rogue.
I'm also very lonely out here on this edge with my opinions.
Welcoming of your opinions.
I'll always respect your opinion, because you know what? I know they're yours. You don't give a shit. It could be the most lauded movie in history, and if you don't like it, you're going to be honest about it. And I appreciate that kind of honesty.
Honestly, it's one of the reasons I love talking to you, because I don't always agree with you. We agree very little, we've established, but I love talking to you about it.
Well, and you know what? What was it, 2 weeks ago? He managed to turn Jeff York and I on Coraline. So I was like,
one of my darkest hours. I'm sorry.
He just came at it with logic, and he just broke us down with logic. And I'm like, all right, man.
I have to say, it's really funny you said that, because I'm on Letterboxd currently, and the first review that I just clicked on for being John Malkovich says it's like Coraline for trans people. The timing of that is really funny.
Wow.
Maybe we're all inside of John Malkovich right now.
Maybe we are.
By the way, I love Charlie Sheen in this, by the way.
Charlie Sheen was hilarious. He was apparently he was shooting this while he was in rehab too. This was during his rehab.
He was shooting something.
He was shooting something. But I just the skull cap. When you get the 8 years later and you get to see him with the skull cap.
I do love a skull cap gag.
You know, they look older in that scene. That I guess this movie came out in 99, so this would have been taking place in 2006. They look older in that scene than they actually do now, 30 years later.
They do.
And Charlie Sheen, this is,
hot lesbian witches.
He's so good at just being a lovable scumbag.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait,
I don't know if
you
he's lovable,
have
but he is a scumbag, so.
you have a pair of lesbian witches having sex through you, and you're complaining like.
I just love the idea of John Malkovich being friends with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
That is incredibly funny to me.
And they have
they had bacon, but he didn't want to do it.
And then they had those nicknames for each other. Malcatraz and the Machine.
Oh man! I'm wondering if Spike Jones just went to Charlie Sheen and just went, you know what? This is what Malkovich is going through. He's going to tell you about it. Just be yourself. And he's like, dude, yeah, what are you doing? This is hot. You mean they're having lesbian sex through you? This is the hottest thing I've ever heard. Yo, give me her number when you're done with her.
Can I also say, like, I think there was scenes in that. There was the two scenes that Charlie Sheen was in. The first first scene that he's in. There's so many times where it's just a close-up of him without John Malkovich in the shot. It almost felt like a Space Ghost Coast to Coast type of thing where they're just feeding Charlie Sheen random shit and then we're gonna write the scene around it, because like half the time it didn't even feel like he was on set.
Yeah. It's Criswell in Orgy of the Dead. It's Criswell's not even there. He's on a different section of the stage. But yeah, I mean, you have Sheen show up. You've got some running gags, but it is tough to get into a film when you really don't have an anchor of any kind of someone you can pull for. You hope has an arc. I mean, the only real like little bit of redemption or whatever light you could see is that we learn Lottie approaches Dr. Lester about the whole she plays it off fairly well, actually. I will say she plays it off fairly well to get pulled into their circle to be told about the door, because she doesn't exactly mention the door. She just mentions, wow, you really love Malkovich. I love Malkovich, and sharing that passion. He's like, well, guess what? He's like, there's this door. And she's like, really? So, I mean, that whole little interaction she had with Dr. Lester, I thought was good. But he drops, that's where we get our little exposition jump of what's going on, of him hopping hosts at age of 44. And then, the spawn of that host is the next host. And if you enter in not before midnight on the 44th birthday, you get trapped in the brain of the newborn host. And so at the very end, you do have Craig getting trapped. I thought I remembered it as being the entire group being trapped in the kid, but unfortunately, it's only Craig who does get trapped in the child and is never able to control anything. He just witnesses life through her eyes forever.
And I still don't completely understand how that works.
Well, I mean, it goes back to it's once they introduce that whole subplot, it becomes just confusing, and I don't even know if it's meant to make sense, which it makes it even more frustrating, because it's like, well, then why again am I going to watch the next half hour of this movie? Mm-hmm. But the entire, the old man has an entire cadre of fellow senior citizens who are going to reenact Cocoon, except instead of a spaceship, it's John Malkovich's head. They're all going to go in there and live through him forever. What's going on there?
Yeah, they'll live through him.
It's like a road motel in his head.
Yeah, it basically, yeah.
But here's the thing: they don't establish, like, when that doesn't sound like it would be any kind of pleasant, because the other now they needed to have another scene in which there were multiple people inside Malkovich's head, one of whom was not Malkovich, because when the scene we discussed earlier, the guy who got dumped out of the turnpike with Malkovich, they were both inside Malkovich's own head at the same time, but they didn't appear to be interacting with each other. What we saw was, from Malkovich's point of view, the entire world was John Malkovich. Now, we don't know if that's his narcissistic subconscious or childhood fears coming into play and creating this weird funhouse of him all the time, or if that was also a result of someone else being in his consciousness thinking about things. Because through all the other instances where people go through that door, they're seeing the world through John Malkovich's eyes, but he's crawled into his own head. My question is, if you have an entire senior living community basically going into this portal, where do they all live? Do they interact with each other? Could they control Malkovich? Because we've established by the end of the film that you can control John Malkovich, his body and his voice, and take on his persona. So where does that leave the old people?
Yeah, where do they go?
Yeah.
Where do they go? How do they interact? What is that? Why would they want this?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
you're jumping into another body, but we don't see them jump into another body. We don't know exactly what happens with them. Are they like?
Well, they all are. They're all taking. They're all taking.
Children now being born who are all.
They're
taken
all
over by these old people.
They all are in John Malkovich's brain, and one of the big flaws in this, watching it this time now, is the fact of you're hoping the person that you're inhabiting lives to be 88, because unless they have a spawn sooner. Now, if they have a spawn sooner and you happen to the host, the impression I get is, okay, their kid's going to be the host, so there isn't necessarily such a large age gap. But in this case, there would be, because Malkovich is 44 and they have a kid. He gets Maxine pregnant, and Maxine got pregnant while Lot was in Malkovich, so they surmised, oh, this is Lot and Maxine's kid. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll go with that.
Right.
But then I'm thinking of it going, okay, so you're hoping Malkovich lives to 88, because you're not going to be able to hop into that host's brain until until she's 44, and then you could move into that brain. But you're going to be Malkovich. So I mean, it's stacking people.
Well, on top of that, unless they're insinuating that the old man and that group, sort of Rosemary's Baby style, orchestrated Maxine's impregnation. Because, like, if they had never met, like, who is John Malkovich going to impregnate? Who is going to be the baby vessel for this whole project?
Right. And again, that's some of the flaws in the logic of their, or lack of logic in their
you also
gimmick.
have to have multiple children so that all of these old people could be reborn in other bodies.
Well, that's the thing. I'd have to go back and watch it, because they're talking about all of them on that night going into John Malkovich and somehow living forever. So through whatever is magical about the age of 44, they get to just like live in there forever until there's another vessel, which I think is what Mark's getting at. Like, it's all very confusing. And that's what they introduced this element when the movie's almost over.
Yeah.
And then they introduced the baby element. I mean, this was the thing that was, I think, most distasteful to me on two counts, is Maxine's pregnancy. Because for folks out there, I mean, this is the spoiler room, so I assume you've seen this movie by now, or at least don't care enough so you're watching us full on dissect it.
Yeah, at this point, if the movie gets spoiled, that's on them.
Right.
Yeah.
But Maxine and Craig hatch a plan to fully be John Malkovich. Now, how they got around the 15-minute loophole, I'm not quite sure. But Craig just decides, I'm just going to be Malkovich. I'm in here. I'm going to quit acting and turn John Malkovich into a world-class puppeteer so that I can have the career that I never had. And it works. And during the course of this, I can't remember how many years they're together. Maybe it's
months. It's only 8 months.
That's right, because it's his 44th birthday, and before that it was 8 months earlier. The jump forward is the 7 years at the end of the film.
Right. Yeah.
But so during the course of that fame sequence, Maxine gets pregnant, and Craig isn't really happy with her anymore. Doesn't pretty much care to be a father, doesn't seem. And he's just never happy. Nothing, fame, all that stuff has not filled the hole that's inside of his heart. Maxine seems to be into the idea of motherhood, which I don't believe for a second, because there's nothing else in this picture to suggest that she likes people and that she wouldn't just automatically get rid of the child once she found out she was pregnant. She has no connection to Craig. There's no connection to the Malkovich thing. She might, and she's kind of holding on to this weird idea that it's actually Lottie's baby and that's what makes it special, but it's not even clear that she really loves Lottie. It's not clear that Maxine is capable of loving anyone. So for her to go through this character change where she suddenly cares, and by the very end of the film, she's like this, her version of a doting mother, I didn't buy it. I thought it was a cheat. But the other cheat is when Maxine is being pursued through Malkovich's brain in that, Freddy's Dead sequence I hinted at earlier. She's very pregnant. This isn't like, oh, it's been 6 weeks and I'm not showing. She's about to pop. And in that, she's being thrown around, falling through doors and portals. Like when she falls down into Elizabeth, New Jersey, there's no way that baby's coming out alive or not severely mentally challenged. And I thought it was reckless on the part of Jones and Kaufman to show this as kind of like, isn't this so cool? Because it's not even, the baby isn't even a consideration as far as Maxine, like, you're not going to hurt my baby, or I've got to be careful because I've got a kid inside me. She's not screaming back like, stop this, I'm pregnant, or something like that. It's just a device. And, I didn't have kids when I first saw this movie. It bugged me then. I've got a couple of kids now, and just the idea, and I know this is kind of a controversial subject in some circles, but the idea that you would not treat that life that's inside of you with everything that you have because it's your kid, that's, a responsible screenwriter would at least know to address it. This movie treats it as a device and a gimmick, and I had no time for it.
Or that at least somebody like Catherine Keener or Catherine Keener's character wouldn't, because she's the most self-absorbed person in this movie full of self-absorbed people.
Well, I mean, I will push back saying you can have her have a change of heart once she actually finds out she's pregnant. She has a life.
But we don't see any of that. We don't see any of that in the film.
I was just going to say
where I was going with Ian is that I could see her. I was speaking to. I could see her possibly having the change of heart. Here, we don't see that. We don't get a moment of that to where she starts considering it, spending intimate time with the baby or whatnot. We get one scene with it, and that's about it, with her having, the headphones on the baby and asking if she likes that or not. But we don't spend enough screen time with her over the course of her pregnancy to see that develop to where she suddenly starts to grow and care about it. Just like Lot, for Lot caring about Maxine, who has a kid, Lot goes from being caring of all these animals and being supposedly a very soft-hearted person, thanks to, being opposite of her husband, to now she's literally firing shots at a pregnant woman. And I'm saying, I get what maybe they were trying to see it as, that, Lot has kind of been pushed to this edge thanks to Craig and Maxine initially, and I get that, but at the same time, it's a big jump for 8 months. So is the documentary they do on Malkovich turning to a master puppet, and I'm like, they're doing the documentary as if he's been doing this for years now and suddenly become this maestro of puppets. I'm like, it's been 8 months.
It's just how talented Craig is. And actually that's the reason that Lottie gives as to why Craig's able to stay in Malkovich so long. It must have something to do with his ability to be a puppeteer.
Yeah.
But what?
Well,
again, I mean, her character can say that, but why does the movie allow that to be the truth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they could have since you're already getting old man description. I get what you're seeing, Ian. While you're getting old man description of what they're doing as far as going into the brain of someone or not, he could drop a line or two of how he figured Craig was able to control him, at least, because he's the sage of the film. He's dropping, the supposed rule book of what's going on. and yet he gives us wafer thin rules, which I don't need all rules, but you need a little more definition for your world building in here. And they lean more into the gimmick than building the world around the gimmick. Yeah,
there was a lot to explore there too, because I mean, I know this wasn't the social media age, but they were raking in so much money. They had lines of people down the hallway after hours at this company. Nobody talked. Nobody went to a newspaper, or there could have been like this thing where like they're having to they're backlogged for months because there's so many people wanting to get in. This would have been a news story. It would have gotten around somehow. And also, the owner of this company has the portal to John Malkovich's head in his office building, and he has this team of other elderly people who've been in on this for God knows how long. The portal is hidden behind a filing cabinet in the office that if you wanted to go into it, you still have to move the door. I'm not even talking about when it's discovered. And on top of that, by the time Craig and Maxine are running this business out of the office in which the portal is happening, the old man never goes in there, never checks to see, oh, I guess the filing cabinet's still there. Put a damn lock on the door. Like this movie is not smart. And in fact, it's insulting. And that's one of the many reasons that I have lots of problems with it, because like there's so much potential here. If you want to get cute about the whole baby thing, Craig and Lottie have stuck it out despite years of trying to have a kid and not being able to. And part of that is Craig feeling like less of a man because he can't work, or he's more in tune with his art and doesn't care about family so much, putting career ahead of family, and that really bothers Lottie. And then finally, there's this Malkovich thing. She gets pregnant. She gets Maxine pregnant. None of this stuff like, oh, I think I'm a man. That confuses things, and it's just bizarre, and it feels like it's edgy for being edgy's sake. But at the end, maybe there's a weird happy ending where Maxine actually does get in tune with the life that's inside of her, and Lottie discovers that she is in love with this baby, and maybe even just a platonic thing with Maxine. They can raise this girl together because they're both getting what they want. There's a human version of this story buried under the inhuman layers of being John Malkovich.
Or lean into the other idea that you bring into that Lottie is considering herself possibly to be trans, which was in 1999 is an interesting topic to be exploring.
But it wasn't really a thing.
But aside from the one time she mentions it, though.
No, well, that's what I'm saying, though, is you could even lean into that if you want, and maybe she went through with transitioning later on, and then you have Lottie who has transitioned with Maxine. I mean, you could do something with it, but there's a lot of ideas and such that are presented, and then they're like, oh, we got to get back to our Malkovich gimmick. Because you could have gone that route too, where Lottie is discovering that maybe, maybe that's part of the reason she doesn't like Craig too. Never mind the fact that Craig's an asshole, but the fact that maybe she is attracted to women, or that she is trans, but they don't do anything with that. They end up just leaning back to, nope, go through the door again. And now,
well, that's the other thing. It's like this movie treats non-traditional sexual identities as if they're all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You could be into Catherine Keener and not know it. That makes you a lesbian. You could go into John Malkovich's brain and discover, oh, it's weird being a man and kind of cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to transition to being a man. It could, but this movie isn't really about that. And it also doesn't treat the subject matter it introduces with any kind of like respect or depth. So it's just, again, kind of freak show window dressing, like, ooh, isn't this edgy? Won't this like piss off certain people in the audience? Like, well, yeah, because you're not doing anything with it.
No, I mean, it's a Wizard of Oz film. And hear me out. There's a number of films, and I'm sure we've all watched them, to where pay no attention to the man behind the curtain films, to where here is your gimmick. Here is the thing that we're hooking you on. Here's the thing. Don't pay attention to all the flaws of that. Here, look at the funny thing of being John Malkovich. Oh, look, now Malkovich sees all of himself. Don't pay attention to the fact of all of these holes in it. Here's the gimmick again. Oh, they're falling now. Oh, now we have two people falling, is what I'm saying. Is there's some films out there that they have their gimmick or whatnot, and that's what they're putting up in front of you. or more importantly, it's the cabin boy David Letterman scene. You know which one I'm talking about. Look at a monkey. Look at a silly. Would you like to buy a monkey? You know, it's like
Cabin boy.
You know, would you like to buy a monkey? You know, pay attention to the monkey and you know, not the price or anything. And this one, I think they've leaned into the gimmick so much, though they touch on other subjects that this gimmick opens up, but they don't bother to spend time with those subjects and instead try to lean back to, oh, we're in Malkovich, you know, we're in Malkovich's head. They've got certain scenes in here, but nothing ever goes anywhere with it. It's shown and then it's fleeting. And like I said, I enjoy the film because it's quirky, but I fully see that, especially on the rewatch. I do see that pretty much to where, nope, the main gist of the film is people live forever by hopping inside John Malkovich.
I mean, if you want to talk about, you know, the movie, you know, being quirky for the sake of quirky, I just saw that last week with Honey Don't. I finally watched Honey Don't, and that movie to me feels like a movie that forgets that it's supposed to be a movie and just gets into being quirky for the sake of quirky. Mm-hmm. And I think that Ethan Coen thought that this was going to carry the full 90 minutes of the movie. That's what I see when I think of that, quirky for the sake of quirky without anything. I feel like this movie did have more entertainment value to it than Honey Don't did, aside from the scene where Margaret Qualley and Aubrey Plaza meet up in the bar and then what follows that. But beyond that, if you can get me to hate a movie that has that is a terrible movie. So I kind of think of that as a movie that was quirky for the sake of quirky and forgot that it's supposed to be a movie. This, I don't see it as much because this one I feel at least committed a little bit to the gimmick, and I felt that I was actually entertained by it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was never bored by this movie because I was too angry to be bored. That's the thing is they do a lot with it, but they don't do anything that's inherently interesting or close to living up to the promise of the premise.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to that Transformers idea. Like, yeah, Michael Bay, you've made 7 of these movies, and yet you're outdone by 8 minutes of a spinoff. What's going on here?
And this is one of those movies where you could draw a line right in the center of the movie to where there's a complete shift in what the movie is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. The moment Malkovich goes through his own head and gets dumped out, from there on, it is a completely different film. Mm-hmm. And you could literally stop it right there. And if you're watching it in 2 parts, watch the next part tomorrow. You're going to feel like you're watching a completely different movie. You're going to be like, what? Wait a minute. This is the movie I just stopped last night? It's weird the way it shifts.
I thought you were going to draw the line much earlier than that, which is when, again, Craig locks Lottie up in their apartment in that cage.
Was it much earlier than that?
No, the cage lock is later because Malkovich discovers what's going on. He goes into his own brain, and then
was it? Yeah,
it's later. It's after that.
Okay,
because that Craig started to learn how to control him, but not completely. And then Malkovich discovers it. He goes through, and then Craig goes back in because Maxine is having a date with John, and she thinks Lottie's going to be in there, and that's when he locks Lottie up and goes into Malkovich and
now
he shows up again, and this time it's Craig in there.
I still wouldn't. I understand what you're saying, Joe. I don't quite agree because to me, I think that Malkovich going into his own brain and coming back out, that's still very consistent with what else has happened in the film up until that. Going back to the quirkiness of that 7.5 floor, because in that fantasy sequence, I mean, there's something I hadn't noticed when I watched this in '99 because it all happens very quickly. But as Malkovich is leaving the restaurant, he sees like a little baby Malkovich in a high chair. For like a split second.
The weird baby Malkovich.
It's really strange, but it's still quirky, right? It's still weird. The tonal change happens in that apartment with the drawing of the gun and the locking up of
Yeah.
of Lottie.
Oh, yeah.
But it's within that probably 10 minutes. Yeah.
No, that the shift does it does completely change. I forgot about the gun part and him locking her up. I actually forgot about that part until I watch it again. And I'm like, oh, okay, well now this is uncomfortable. Quite a bit uncomfortable because
Could I ask Joe a New York based question?
What's up?
So we don't know 100% where the building is downtown New York. What are the chances that Craig could get to the New Jersey Turnpike in 15 minutes to the point that he's sitting there waiting?
15 minutes probably impossible. Well, I mean, if they're doing it in the middle of the night, there's probably no traffic. So you just zip right through.
Because I was also wondering if they're just like people going in and like it's just an assembly line. Is he just driving back and forth all fucking night?
I mean, at that time of night, if it's like midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., because Elizabeth, New Jersey is not that far out from New York City if you're driving through in the tunnel. Like if you were taking the train into New Jersey from Penn Station, Elizabeth would be like the third or fourth stop in, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've taken the train in that area. So it's not like that deep in,
right.
As far as like where it is proximity-wise, it's not far from Newark Airport.
Yeah, logic gaps like that don't really ruin most things for me, but I was seriously wondering what the odds of that were.
I mean, that's one of those things where you would have to be a New Yorker.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could see the Twin Towers from where he lands.
but Mike, you bring up a good point because you see the long line. I mean, they're running this thing at all hours of the night. So at some point they have to ostensibly clear out before the janitorial staff shows up in the morning, or at least the first person actually does the business of the whatever corporation they're working for. So you have to think 15 minutes. The guy goes to the portal. Craig has to leave the building, get down to the street, get his car, drive out to this place, and he's sitting and waiting. So it's not like he's getting there out of breath all the time. Pick up the person and then get them back to the office building at least, or maybe he drops them to the train. I don't know where he takes them afterwards, but then get back up to the building for the next drop off. Unless he's sitting out there all night, but I don't know if that's the case either. So are these people going in one after the other every 15 minutes? Or is it like, okay, here's 15 minutes. We're going to have a half hour of you. So like every session is 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Where someone is just like standing out there in the hallway with their dick in their hand.
I would have loved to have seen just a little bit of this business taking off, and just once I want to see someone fall out of the sky and there'd be like a little stand set up selling water bottles to them, have a little tram set up where they don't take them back to the city until there's a couple of them. That would have been great.
That would have been really cool and weird. Yeah.
It would have been weird. It would have made sense, at least.
This is going to be one of those things that's going to make it at some point, those New Jersey PATH trains from Manhattan into New Jersey stop running because they don't run all night. So he's not driving them to a train station at 3 a.m. because there's no train at that point.
And that could have even been a subplot of this thing. I mean, if the entire movie, if you'd taken out all the relationship stuff and just been about this guy and this coworker who discovered they can make a business out of being John Malkovich, that would have carried a 3-hour movie or a mini series.
I almost like I'd be curious because like they were kind of contemporaries of each other. I would have been curious to see what Michel Gondry would have done with this same concept.
Yeah,
because him and Spike Jonze were both the contemporaries of each other, and
it's weird though. Indie films around this time, like 98, 99, if you look at some of, they all kind of felt very similar as far as like their look at everything. Because like in 98 we had Pi, and as far as like the aesthetics and colors and everything, it kind of felt a bit like that in a number of ways in their approach as far as tone, like subject. This seemed to be a few span of years of quirky indie films coming out, ones that, and again, we had the internet, but it wasn't to the extent you had now. So a lot of this stuff got passed around word of mouth or whatnot. Oh, did you see Pi? Or, oh, did you see Being John Malkovich? I learned of Being John Malkovich from trivia. This was a trivia movie in 99. In 99, this was back when they were still doing indie films before they decided to do classic films, and I'm so glad they went to classic films. But that was mostly because the runners of trivia in Point did not want to encourage piracy. So because they would get these obscure indie films, and then when the internet started taking off, people would go online and look for news groups or whatnot where they could download the film to watch it to take more extensive notes. Just natural competitiveness. So, but before that, this was a trivia movie, and that's how I got introduced to it. And I was like, oh, this is, it's a quirky film, and you're watching it and you got to make sure you check all the print signs and everything. You got to make notes of that because those could be trivia questions on it. Like, especially when he's going through the newspaper and he finds the want ad for short in stature, quick in filing people.
I actually missed the short in stature part of that. Of that ad.
Yeah, that's not the quite words, but it's basically, it would, and it didn't dawn on me at first until I realized it's the 7.5 floor. I'm like, oh, that's why they were asking about height. That's why they mentioned height.
The just a little comic beat that I love was one, Octavia Spencer just
she shows up. Octavia Spencer.
But I just love that there is a crowbar just placed in that elevator at all times, and then when they show the elevator door, like the close up of the door, it's being pried open every single day, so there's pry marks in the same spot.
That was a nice detail, because I have to go back and watch it, but I don't know if we saw the inside shot of the elevator doors as they were closing from their vantage point. So I'd like to go back and see if you can see those dents in it. Or
yeah,
you
do
weren't
see
paying attention until the close up.
There is before the close up. Yeah, I think
Right.
there is a bit of a dent, but you can't really tell until it's close up. But I like too that the door's open for 7.5, and there's someone standing there on level 8 waiting for the elevator. It's just like you just see feet,
and just Octavia Spencer's little like moment of just annoyance, like.
Well, that's what was funny. What threw me too is because I'm watching this, and all of a sudden she pops up like, "Oh shit! I forgot Octavia Spencer was in it. She was just in the one scene." But I'm like,
well, it's because I don't think she was like a known actor at that time.
No, she wasn't. That's the whole thing. That's why I love seeing that. Is that
she hasn't aged a day?
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then I also want to give just a little call out to Carter Burwell's music in this. Carter Burwell is one of my favorite working composer. He works almost exclusively with the Coen brothers, and then wherever else he feels like working. Just the way that he scores films, I just think are he brings a lot out of them. And because my biggest takeaway with this film, is absurd and funny as it can sometimes be, the movie's just also profoundly sad, and I think his music really brings that out of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Joe, your final thought with Being John Malkovich.
I feel like this is more like less a movie that you should approach with logic and more of a movie that's just about the mood. I think that's because, like we've proved here, if you start pulling at threads, this thing's gonna come apart pretty quickly. And I think that's the film's fundamental flaw. I don't think it's perfect. I enjoyed it. I was entertained by it. Also, I agree with Ian about the scene where when Lottie is chasing Maxine, and they go through John Malkovich's path. The comparison to Freddy's Dead is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I was originally thinking like the movie Shocker. With the way they do that.
That's right.
Freddy's Dead is a very apt description.
I mean, that first scene where you see her walking down the stairs looks almost identical to the Alice Cooper sequence in Freddy's Dead. So that's actually, I remember watching that last night and going, "Holy shit, this looks like it." And that is a very apt comparison. Overall, I still like the movie, still enjoyed the movie upon rewatch. I do agree with Ian that if you start to think about this movie, if you start thinking logically, but it's a movie about being inside John Malkovich's head for 15 minutes at a time. So, you know, I just feel like I don't know if it's meant to be viewed logically. Or with logic in mind. I think it is just the kind of movie where you just kind of are expected to get lost in the quirkiness. But at least it's entertaining quirkiness. So yeah, I guess that's how I feel about it. I still like it. I like it for just the way it feels the whole time and the energy that it has the whole time.
That's a good point. That's a good synopsis. Mike, what about your final take?
Oh, right. So one of the things that I love about film and film criticism is that I love seeing different opinions on media and art that I enjoy, because I feel like I liked this movie more than the group as a whole. But I hear everything that is being said, and you're absolutely right. Once you start trying to put too much logic to it things can fall apart. But ultimately, none of that really bothers me. I went to UWM, which was a film school that prioritized art film. Like I've watched so many fucking George Kuchar films, and those don't make any fucking sense. And that's fine for me. But I completely understand someone's need and desire to have those things, or to have likable characters, to have an arc and things like that. But I ultimately really enjoyed the film. I was kind of flabbergasted by it, mostly just because I didn't really know what I was getting into with it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very clear idea of what I thought this movie was going to be. And one thing I do want to call out, if anyone does have that Criterion release, or support your local library and check it out at your local library, I do want to give a call out to a fly in the wall making of documentary, behind the scenes documentary on that disc, called All Non-Combatants Please Clear the Set. It's directed by Lance Bangs, who is one of the primary camera guys for Jackass. Used to work with Spike Jonze all the time back at Big Brother magazine, and he was just on set the entire time. And the reason I'm calling this out is because as a filmmaker myself, sometimes you're on sets that, even if you're doing something for no money, sometimes these sets can take themselves a little too seriously. And it was kind of refreshing to see a film that had a budget that kind of felt like a student film being made, to the point there's this really great moment near the end where they're doing that sequence. The Freddy's Dead sequence is now what we're just going to refer to that as, and where Catherine Keener kind of like slides down the stairs. Stunt woman broke her leg on that stunt. They were going to have to call. She couldn't complete the stunt, and they were going to call the day. They were going to end the day early, and essentially not have that shot. In a little bit of, well, fuck, we need to get this shot, Spike Jonze just put on the wig and Catherine Keener's outfit and did the stunt himself, and that's what's in the movie.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna have someone do, Spike Jonze would be.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just do it. Like, what if we did it? And like, his first idea is like, should we? And they're all like a little shocked, because he's coming at it from kind of a DIY punk ethos, and it was just kind of nice to see to see that. So I do want to give a little shout out to Lance Bangs' documentary.
I'm shocked the unions didn't come down on them for that.
They probably didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, they probably didn't tell anyone.
On a documentary that's been released, because I can see the unions being like,
it wasn't released until 2012.
Yeah.
What's that?
It wasn't released until 2012.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. At that point, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
it's 25 years, 15 years old at that point. So
yeah, it would have been 12, 13, 15.
13 years old. This came out in 99.
Years old, so yeah.
So, get you a director who'll throw himself down a flight of stairs to get the shot.
And Ian, we know your final thought, but any closing remark on this besides you're never going to watch it again?
No.
He's made reference to, I have to go back and rewatch that scene, so maybe he might.
Yes, but the key phrase is that scene.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But if you rewatch enough scenes together, then you've rewatched the movie.
I think I referenced 2 scenes. It's not no. I did want to mention, speaking of shout outs, David Fincher shows up at the end in that documentary. He's one of the talking heads, which was kind of fun. That was a moment where I was like, oh, that brings me joy.
And I actually do have to say I liked that doc, because like so many times when a movie tries to recreate like a PBS style documentary, they don't get the vibe and the feeling right. That felt completely earnest and accurate.
It's also weird in this PBS document, this fake PBS documentary in this universe where John Malkovich exists as John Malkovich and Sean Penn exists as Sean Penn. You have David Fincher, who is not David Fincher.
And does that mean John Cusack doesn't exist? Was someone else?
I'm wondering that. Like, you know what would be kind of funny is if they would have had John Cusack, Cameron Diaz, and Catherine Keener all talking about how much they love John Malkovich.
Actually, that would have been really funny.
That would have been hilarious. And for me, I have fond memory because it was a trivia movie and there were a number of questions asked on it. I like the quirkiness of it. Watching it this time, I see more of the flaws. I appreciate the fact that someone was trying to make a quirky film. I always appreciate when someone's trying to make a film like this and it gets out there. I will also say, though, that if they didn't get John Malkovich to play this, it probably would never have gotten the buzz that it did. One, they said they would never have made it. But even if they did make it without John Malkovich, I honestly don't think it would nearly have caught what it did back then.
John Malkovich is just a good name. Like being Brad Pitt just doesn't.
Well,
John
Brad Pitt would have been like,
yeah,
Also, a line that is kind of a throwaway line, but I love it, is when they're telling the guy, you could be someone else for 15 minutes. Like, okay, be anybody I want. No, you'll be John Malkovich. Well, he was going to be my second choice. But by the way, we talked over and didn't let Ian give his final word because we all kind of made jokes about it. And then
it's probably for the best, Joe.
Well, to be fair, he did talk over my intro, so it all works out.
Salute.
Malkovich. And with that, folks, we will wrap it up tonight. Thank you so much to my panel. Thank you so much for the folks to tune in. DJ Slabs, Genma Rocks. I'm not going to share that comment just because, but I do give a shout out to the title. Give that fluffy boy a treat. Boy is spelled B-O-I. We won't. We're not going to think of anything like that.
Sorry about that reception.
We're not Lot Schwartz here, but in any case, I want to thank everybody. It's been very enlightful, very insightful. And please, now the license to shill is yours, fine folks. Let everybody know where they can find your stuff at. Joe, you got anything to shill?
Well, I will not be here next week because I will be en route to Atlanta to be on set for the Joe Bob taping. So I will watch The Last Drive-In a week from Friday. That'll be the season finale. Can't say what the two movies are, but you will be getting a Troma movie. So there is that. And the other one is a legendary 70s movie. So yeah, it'll be fun. You get an 80s Troma movie and a 70s a great 70s horror movie. One of the ones that I really didn't appreciate as much until they had me go through it to really like study it. So and it's one that Joe Bob's wanted to show for a long time. So it'll be fun to it'll be fun to check it out. And one of my favorite Troma movies, definitely one of my favorites. So it'll be a fun night.
Cool. Very cool. And Michael Virus, please, the floor is yours.
you can check out my podcast, The Shameless Picture Show. We have been going on for a decade now at this point,
Woohoo.
and we just had our 200th episode. On top of that, we are just recently joined a new podcast network, and you can find us at Someone's Favorite Productions Podcasts. A lot of great shows on there. Yeah, so just check out my podcast. That's the biggest thing. And if you want to find out some other great podcasts, go to someone'sfavoriteproductions.com/network.
There you go.
I got to
And
come
Mr.
back
Ian-
on at some point. It was fun doing the searchers with you.
Yeah, I got to get you back on. And I still need to get Ian on. I just keep, the seasons keep getting away from me.
Yeah.
And Ian, take us home, sir. What do you got to show?
I'm already home. So-
Well, you are
Oh,
home.
sorry.
We're all home. That's right. So see?
I'm Ian Simmons. I run Kicking the Seat, which you can find at kickseat.com and also right here on YouTube. Do weekly live streams and interviews and reviews and all that fun stuff. This week, we're going to be talking about Ben-Hur from 1959. So that'll be Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central. And what else is going on? That's pretty much. Oh, I'm writing for CBR now, contributing movies to their movies and TV section. Contributing columns, articles, whatever you want to call them, to their movies and TV sections. So that's a lot of fun. And otherwise I'm here on Sunday nights and sometimes Mondays, Mark.
Sometimes Mondays. Yes, that's right. And
Used to be Mondays.
there's going to be a series of Mondays in March, folks, that we will be doing the show. Look to specialmarkproductions.com for all your movie man needs, as well as the schedule of the shows coming up. You can also find links to the live streams in the schedule. It'll be highlighted in blue, underlined. Just click it. That'll bring you right here. So, yeah, go there for more stuff. Got a lot of reviews coming. I dropped actually a lot of reviews this month so far, but I got a few more coming, discovery stuff, and so check out all these fine folks here, though. They are wonderful talent who I am always fortunate to have them on my panel, and I am very grateful. And I'm grateful for all you listeners out there as well. Keep us going. We are growing in subscribers both on the YouTubes and on our podcast, and that is because of you folks out there. So thank you very much, and until next time, we'll say a good night, everyone.
Good night.